Most people assume a toxic workplace is a nightmare you only discover after you've signed the offer letter. But that culture is usually visible long before your first day, embedded in the way a company finds and treats its candidates. Recruitment acts as a highly accurate diagnostic test of an organization's ethical standards. It's an unedited preview of how they handle power and whether they actually value the people they claim to meet. This creates a difficult trade-off. You have to weigh the immediate reward of a new job against the risk of entering a system that might be fundamentally broken. Many candidates fall victim to the sunk cost fallacy. After investing weeks into multiple interview rounds, it's hard to admit that the red flags you're seeing are worth walking away from. Tolerating a toxic hiring process carries an immediate cost. You'll likely experience chronic stress and anxiety as you try to navigate shifting expectations and opaque communication. Over time, these patterns lead to high attrition and shrunken talent pools. If the hiring process feels transactional and dismissive, the daily reality of the job rarely proves otherwise. To protect your career, you need to identify specific warning signs, understand the bias inside automated screening, and know exactly when to disengage based on your current leverage. These principles apply whether you are navigating a corporate office or entering the skilled trades. Shifting your mindset from seeking approval to auditing the employer is undoubtedly the most effective way to ensure that you don't end up trapped in a dysfunctional culture. The job hunt begins with the posting, which often serves as the first trap for the unwary. Look for signs of trouble early on, such as a complete lack of salary transparency or entry-level roles that somehow require 5 or more years of experience. This matrix shows how common buzzwords translate into practical reality. In many cases, fast-paced is a euphemism for a burnout-heavy environment, while the phrase "wear many hats" signals a lack of defined boundaries. Accepting a role with these vague parameters often means trading your personal time and mental energy for a steady paycheck. If you move into the interview stage, the back-end toxicity of the company starts to show up in your interpersonal interactions. Pay attention when interviewers arrive unprepared or give you contradictory information about what the job actually entails. Some organizations use aggressive questioning or high-pressure puzzles, framing them as a way to test your resilience or culture fit. These tactics are rarely about your skill. Instead, they measure your willingness to be subservient and your tolerance for unchecked authority. You can flip the script by asking reverse questions. Ask why the role is open or how the team recently resolved a conflict. If the answers are vague or defensive, take note. A consistently disrespectful interview environment is a direct preview of internal dysfunction. It isn't an accident, it's the culture in practice. While human interactions are highly visible during interviews, modern hiring also relies heavily on an invisible, automated screening layer. Resume screening platforms are designed to handle volume, but they introduce new risks that most candidates, and even many recruiters, don't see.
Algorithmic bias occurs when AI platforms are trained on historical data containing inequities. The system replicates these patterns, only allowing a homogeneous group through. Qualified people are screened out based on arbitrary proxies, like language patterns, regardless of actual job skill. Companies gain speed and scale through these tools, but they often sacrifice fairness and diversity in the process. This systemic toxicity is difficult to challenge because it appears neutral. It's presented as a data-driven process, even when the data itself is flawed. These barriers remain invisible to the applicants who are rejected, and recruiters often lack the training to understand how the system is making its decisions. Without continuous auditing and transparency, automated hiring tools function as gatekeepers of exclusion, preserving toxic dynamics under a more polished surface. If you move away from the corporate world and into the skilled trades, the risks don't disappear, they just change shape. Instead of AI filters and HR departments, you're often dealing with localized hiring, where power is concentrated in a single contractor or business owner. Red flags in the trades often involve trial-by-fire scenarios. These are sometimes used to disguise a lack of safety standards or a culture of hazing. When evaluating a trade employer, look for the ideal mentor zone. This requires vetting them for strict safety practices and a clear, transparent timeline for your apprenticeship.
You bypass the corporate bureaucracy, but you take on the risk of working for someone who might prioritize speed over your physical safety or professional growth. Building a sustainable career in the trades depends on finding mentors who value your development, not just bosses who need an extra pair of hands. The trades offer significant long-term value, but that value is only realized when you are working under ethical leadership. There is a simple rule for every job seeker. When a company excuses disrespectful behavior as their culture, it is time to exit the process. This protocol helps you make an objective decision based on the amount of leverage you currently have in your career. If you are currently in a position where you must take the job for financial survival, you have to adjust your strategy. Treat the role as a short-term stepping stone. Keep your resume active and set rigid emotional boundaries to protect yourself until you can find a healthier environment. For a beginner in the skilled trades, the protocol is based on your safety. If an employer dismisses safety concerns or can't explain how they'll train you, walk away immediately. No apprenticeship is worth a permanent injury. If you are a secure, mid-career professional looking for your next move, you have the most leverage to maintain high standards. Withdraw from any process where the evaluation criteria keep shifting or the communication lacks honesty. You shouldn't spend your leverage on a company that doesn't respect your time. An organization's hiring practices signal its core values, showing you exactly how they operate long before you arrive for your first day. Protecting your long-term growth means listening to what those actions are telling you and having the discipline to walk away when the preview looks like dysfunction.